first of all going to be looking at morality and belief. This is the start of our morality unit. And first of all, we need to understand what morality is. So I would recommend for you to be watching this video, pause it as you go along. There'll be a few tasks for you to do, and have a Google document file ready. And this means that you can submit it to me via Google Classroom and we can work through it. The learning intention today is to explore the concept of morality and beliefs. So, morality, what is it? I want you to pause the video and write down your thoughts on what morality is. So, what does morality mean? It is a noun, and the first kind of definition that you will find in the dictionary is principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad behaviour. For example, is something right or is something wrong? A particular system of values and principles of conduct. For example, what is your morality? How do you decide what is right and wrong? Or 3, the extent to which an action is right or wrong. So, on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, what I want you to do for this next task is write down how you know things are right or wrong. Who's taught you? Is it from family? Is it from school? Is it from a holy book? Is it from a religion you follow? Or is it from media? Is it from the news? I want you to pause the video again and write these down. So this is task 2. Some examples that you might have come up with is from the people who have brought you up, whether that is family or people that have cared for you, from religious leaders, for example, if you have a religion, from holy books, whether this is just embedded in you from a young age, the law, which is a good one because our legislation tells us what is right and wrong in our society, and these are things that are probably good for you to be following. Teachers can tell you what is right and wrong, for example, behaviour in classrooms. People in the media, you will have activists that are advocating for no capital punishment, for rights in gender, LGBT community, and what we should do to implement and change the law if it is wrong. Social media can be a way as well. For example, if you're on Twitter, you will see that people advocate for things that are not right. We have recently had the Yes movement, and we have got history as well. One of the things that we can learn from history is actions that have been wrong. We have had a look at LGBT community in the school and how legislation had been changed and influenced by activists. We have the rights of women for votes, and we also have genocide that's happened in the past, and we obviously know traits that might be popping up in political agendas and how these might be wrong as well. One of the things that we do look at in our RMPS is mainly the religious or non-religious ethics or morality, and deciding or using them to decide what is right or wrong. And that's where our arguments come from and our questions. Religious ways of making decisions that we're going to have a look at is Christian and Buddhist today. However, in class we will have a look at different religions as well. We will also have a look at Hindu, we will have a look at Islam, and we will compare them and contrast them to see or formulate good arguments. Christian morality is massively diverse. You can have different things in the Bible that tell you one thing, or ones that tell you other, depending on whether you look at the Old Testament or New Testament. We sometimes use the terms a liberal Christian or a literalist Christian. However, you have got different terms that you can use, such as Catholic, Protestant, Presbyterian, Baptist, all these other ones to explain a Christian viewpoint. Now, some Christians know what is right and wrong because they have Jesus as a perfect example to look up to. And Jesus is a good person to look at when you're looking at the morality of a Christian person. In the Bible, you've got a book called Luke. Luke was one of the disciples of Jesus, and he wrote a lot of what Jesus said. Judge not, as you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. If you're using knowledge marks, you can use this as a great knowledge mark and build on it with your analysis skills that you would have developed over the time. They also have a look at the 10 Commandments, which are in the Old Testament, to tell them what is right and wrong. These are 10 rules, and our laws are based on these because of the Roman Empire when they come over, and also that the Queen is the head of the church as well. We have a look at Buddhist morality. Now, we will have a look at the story of Angulimala. This was a man who was an assassin, and he was going to kill the Buddha. He had 99 fingers of the people that he had killed all round his neck, and he didn't exactly look that brilliant according to all the pictures that Buddhist artists have drawn of him. When he came to the Buddha questioned what he was doing, and the Buddha said to kill him. Angulimala realised that it's not what he wanted to do. He changed his mind and he became part of the monastic community of the Buddha. This teaches Buddhists all about compassion. It is called ahimsa. You will find something similar in Hinduism as well, and how you should always be compassionate towards other people. This can apply to our lives, not obviously in a situation where you're going to be assassinated, but in a situation where someone has done something bad to you or going to do something bad to you and you act with compassion. Buddhists also use the 5 precepts, one of their practices, to decide what is right or wrong. These are key. These are things we're going to be having a look at and delve into them in more detail as we look at Buddhism as a world religion. The Buddha also taught people to experience things for themselves and make up their own mind. In Buddhism, everything's not set in stone, and some of the things that might change or apply to society today will be very different from what it was in the Buddha's world. Therefore, we should take everything from Buddhism and apply it to our own lives, and if things don't work, don't use them. In RMPS, we also look at the non-religious ways of making decisions. For example, we use Amnesty International and the United Nations viewpoint, and we also use utilitarianism. Amnesty International is a good viewpoint to be having a look at, especially when we look at the humaneness of capital punishment and the use of punishments, whether it is in the UK or outside. The United Nations have articles, and these are the United Nations viewpoint. They are the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. Article 3 says everyone should have the right to life, liberty and personal security. Article 5 says everyone should have freedom of torture and degrading punishment. Article 11 everyone should have the right to be considered innocent until proven guilty. The United Nations are made up of countries who decide what is right or wrong. This is seen as a secular view, out with religious views. The United Nations don't implement these as laws, but they're a recommendation. Utilitarian viewpoint is a really good one to have a look at. You've got key utilitarian people at the moment, for example, Peter Singer, and that's someone we will have a look at. But one of the founders is Jeremy Bentham, and he did say the greatest good for the greatest number. This means that if you were in a situation where the majority of people would be getting benefits from it or having happiness or goodness, then the decision should be made towards that. So it's the majority of people should be happy in a situation. They will make decisions based on the consequences and weighing up the goodness in it. For example, a capital punishment for a serial killer might be accepted as this would bring good to society. For example, people would feel safe. They didn't like the person because their acts that they committed, therefore, they would feel more compassionate towards the victim rather than the criminal. However, having the law of capital punishment in place could be causing more badness in the world, therefore, they would disagree with capital punishment as a whole. So, having the law of allowing the death penalty in a state might be causing more negative impact on society than bringing good. So they may disagree with it. It is important when you're having a look at all these different viewpoints, whether it is religious or non religious, that not all Christians are going to agree on the same thing, or not all people that follow the United Nations viewpoint will believe that a punishment is inhumane. Or if we're having a look at utilitarian, they will not always agree on things. You can see that from the capital punishment example. Now, what I want you to do is, this is the last slide of the video, is take your Google Documents file, whether you can split it into 4 boxes or have 4 main bullet points. I want you to summarise the 4 moral viewpoints we've had a look at. Now, there's not much detail in these at the moment because we're going to be having a look at that as we go through the course. You can also use your internet to search for more information, and the more the better. It's only going to help you develop as we carry on and move forward.